and welcome to ShineTalk. Thanks for joining me. I am Martin Shine, and this is the place where we get to know new people, meet new people from all around the world. But sometimes we revisit the same people, and this is one of those times right now. I am coming back to this place 180 degrees from where I am in London, around the planet. It's Australia, it's Brisbane, it is the one and only Miss Samira Wyld. Hello, Samira.
Hey Martin, how are you? Good to see you again.
Again, yeah, it's all good here. It's all good. What's it like there? Dark, I guess, right now at this hour.
Yeah, it's dark right now. It's excessively hot. The humidity's through the roof. But yeah, it's all good.
That's what we like to hear. Positivity, it's all good. And you know something? Even when someone else tries to tell us that glass is half empty, we know better than that. So tell me, it's been quite a while since the last podcast, obviously. You know what I'm saying, right? Okay, since we recorded that.
Sorry, yeah, exactly.
Actually, it was so funny. There used to be a game show over here, and the presenter, every time... After a while of recording these, he used to start saying to everyone, you know, you're so much better than last week's audience. And of course they were recording like 2, 3, 4 of these in one day in the same studio with the same audience, and that was the ongoing joke. So even though we were watching 3 weeks later, they'd recorded all that on the same day 3 weeks ago. Oh yeah, anyway, there you go. So tell me, cool. It became quite funny. It was one of his running gags sort of thing. So, well, now we had a bit of an overview from you the last time we spoke, because you're a writer, the spoken word when it comes to things like poems, and then things... Sorry, that's terrible.
Now stop doing that to my accent. You're doing it really badly. I'll try and do the British accent shortly if you don't watch out.
We want some of that for sure. But also there's another side, which is, of course, the spiritual side, and all things when it comes to, card reading, not necessarily. It's more intuitive readings. Is that right? Exactly.
Intuitive readings, yes. I do use the cards, but I just use them in a slightly different way than some people may be familiar with.
Tell us more. Tell us more. We want to know more about this. Why is it different? I mean, okay, someone wants a reading. They want to know, of course, the ultimate thing is, what's my future? Am I going to be rich man, rich girl, poor girl? It's always often about that. But of course, I guess as well, this is a question. Do you have to sometimes, in so many words and a bit tactfully, get people to take a step back from that initial sort of, intention of having their reading? And how does that work?
Yeah, pretty much, Martin. I mean, basically, when people come to me, I try and explain it to them the best way that I can, that really they can come to me with a specific question, but really in some instances it may not be answered because Spirit or my guides or whatever wants to actually tell them something else that they need to know in this present moment. So what I tell somebody today, they could come back in a month's time and they will get a different message, because it's sort of like, I'm not fortune telling. I'm not looking into the future per se, and this is what's going to be happening to you. And I don't necessarily go to the past either, unless there's something predominantly coming up and showing up that we need to address. But yeah, so that's kind of, it works a little bit different than, the traditional tarot card readers.
Yeah, and again, I mean, can we have some examples of why it's different? You draw a card normally, you shuffle the cards, you take a card out the deck, and then you read off of that. But again, when it comes to intuitive reading?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's sort of like I'm tapping into the person's energy. And I use the word source as well, like I'm tapping into source. Not tomato sauce either, which is what I'm sure you're thinking. But it's like...
You read my mind well, source, obviously. This energy's already working. I'm not saying anything else. I'm keeping clear.
And I've lost all sound, but it's all good.
You've lost sound? You've lost sound?
Oh, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. It's good.
Continue.
So, yeah, anyway, so I tap into what I call source, which some people will call spirit, could be guides, intuition. What's happening? You can't hear me?
I can hear you okay. Carry on.
Oh, good.
I didn't say a word.
And so So basically, it's the person energy that I'm connecting with. And whatever it is that they need to know in this moment is kind of where I take the direction of the readings.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, absolutely. You try and channel the energy to produce the answer and the results that the person's asking you about and questioning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I guess that's not always possible.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
I guess that's not always possible, though, because obviously sometimes you must get messages coming through that in a way the spirit world and the energy deems to be more important, shall we say, and wants to prioritise. So there's, I guess, is there that sort of conflict sometimes, perhaps? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, somebody might come to me and say, oh, look, I want to know what's going on with my career, right? You know, and so obviously I try to tap into that and give them, you know, clarity or guidance or whatever. But spirit may have another agenda and they need to hear another message, which may have nothing to do with work. So, you know, that's kind of where I feel like my readings are coming from a slightly different perspective. Mm-hmm. If you want a traditional tarot card reading, I'm not the person for you, basically, because that's it really is about delivering the message the person needs to hear at this time. More often than not, I do address the question that they are, you know, particularly came to see me for, but sometimes it goes in a different direction.
Yeah, now
I never know what that will be.
Right. No, but again, how do you, with the spirit and energy world, often if they're kind of trying to, if you like, it's a bit like this conversation really. If there's someone trying to drive it and lead it, then how do you know their intentions are good? For example, you know, when you're connecting, you're asking a question A, and the energy is trying to give you an answer B. Is that because they're kind of trying to be perhaps mischievous, for want of better words, or something else?
Are you talking like in the spirit world? Do you mean?
Yeah.
No, I've not encountered that myself. Not in actual readings.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm able to send it into. If there's any mischief, if there's any of that sort of stuff going on, it's because it is connected to that person and they will relate to that humour or whatever. But it's not as in just mucking around and giving crazy answers. Is that what you mean? I'm not.
Yeah. I'm wondering.
Might have misunderstood.
I'm wondering sometimes if I come along to you and I want a reading, and then you try and tap into the energy, to the spirit world, and then perhaps you might receive a message from spirits that perhaps are trying to pretend they're something they're not, trying to maybe pretend that they are bringing you a message that actually is authentic when it's not, that sort of thing, you know? Does that make sense?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Well, what I always do...
A wolf in sheep's clothing, effectively, I suppose, is what I'm saying as well, potentially.
Oh, sorry, Martin, you cut out. What did you say?
No, I was saying potentially like a wolf in sheep's clothing is a good way of putting it more succinctly.
Yep. Well, what I do at the beginning of a reading is I will always either... Well, I usually give a message, okay, because I'm receiving something, and I need the person to clarify to me whether that makes sense. Because if they look at me and they say, I have no idea what you're talking about, then that's when I have basically got to recheck and go, okay, is what I'm receiving for this person? Is it for somebody else? Are you mucking around? Whatever. And then if they are persistent that it is the message for this person, then I need to be clear and firm with the person who's come for the reading to say, well, no, you maybe when you go home, you think about this, and you know, sort of like get back to me if you need more clarification on it. But normally 9 times out of 10, they'll say absolutely spot on. I know exactly what you're talking about, or I know who that person is, or you know, so I know that I'm connecting with something that's authentic to that person. Because if they continually say no, I don't know what you're talking about, well then I have to recalibrate the whole. You know, I wouldn't continue. Basically, is what I'm saying. if they can't relate to anything
Sure.
that I'm telling them.
Yeah, makes sense, absolutely. So, and do you find that you would possibly be able to connect with that person in a more positive way and a way that brings the right results subsequently at a later time? Or is it a case of that individual, generally speaking, if you can't connect on that occasion, you're probably not going to be able to connect at all in the future, or not as well as you do or can do with some other people?
There again, that does depend on the individual, and oftentimes when that happens, it usually is because they have some resistance, and so they're resisting against the whole thing, and then in which case all the reading will be all screwed up, and basically, I've just got to be honest and just say, well, I can't help in this instance. It doesn't mean that if they came back in a month's time that I couldn't, but if they are shut down and not open to it, that can block me. And if I have to work that hard to get through that block, sometimes I just have to terminate it. So,
that makes sense. Sure. Can you tell us? Have you identified it at all? The most common question, is there one sort of ultimate question that the majority of people want to know the answer to?
Yes, pretty much 95% of people want to know about love and relationships.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. Okay. And
career would be second.
Career second. Okay, that's obviously we're not talking about North or South Korea. We mean, just to clarify, yes, Yes. Yes, we're talking about work, job related matters. Yes, their career. Again, third one.
Oh, third one. Oh, possibly health. Might be, or health, or family, things like that. There might be some family issues that they want to know how to resolve, or they want some guidance with, or that sort of thing.
Sure. Now, they all come to you for this advice or this connection. You are the bridge, effectively. But
yes,
can anyone do this?
Well, Martin, I actually do believe that anybody can do this, but it's it takes a very intuitive person, and everybody has this capability, but not everybody taps into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we're all told that, aren't we? That a lot of people, such as yourself, just saying that, everyone's told, exactly that. We can all do it if we want to, and if we learn how to tap into it. And it's a bit like the old saying, if use it or lose it sort of thing. And effectively, that's what happens when we're children and young. But how do we learn about this sort of thing? Because you go through school, you grow up, you go to work and society. No one's sort of tapping you on the shoulder every month saying, have you been up there yet to go and do your training for becoming more in tune with the spirit world and the energy and what we're all about, really? So it's kind of something, it's almost some would debate taboo sometimes.
Absolutely. There can be a lot of negativity around this, and as we touched on in our last podcast, because there's charlatans out there as well. I mean, we have to be real and we have to be honest. There are people out there who just want to make money.
Well, in every walk of life,
they just make shit up, And
That's
so
a good way of putting it.
Certain people, and then certain people have, what should I say? They conjure up some images of, and I've even heard you say it, like crystal balls and fortune telling and witches and casting spells and all those kinds of things. So that can conjure up this whole, and that can be surrounded in a certain amount of negativity. So it's not always embraced. It's embraced by like-minded people, or people who kind of get it and who are empaths and sensitive, or are genuinely interested. But there are a lot of people who are just going to really knock it and call you weird and crazy and all the rest of it. So, that definitely is, there can be major stigmas around the whole thing.
Yeah. We did touch on this, obviously, particularly going back to
Yeah.
your childhood and schooling and that sort of thing in our previous podcast, if people want to listen to that, when it comes to bullying from peers. Not good at all. But, so moving swiftly on, you do this sort of thing, obviously, locally where you are, there in Brisbane, Australia, and, meet people physically for their readings, that sort of thing. But you also do them, well, globally, yeah?
Yes. Skype. Skype is my best way of doing them. I can do telephone calls within Australia, but Skype is by far the best way, and I can connect globally. And so while I do one-on-one in person in Australia, I offer my services worldwide through Skype.
Mm-hmm. So. Great. So that this is the next point, of course, Skype. How do people get in contact with you on Skype if they want a reading, they want to know more about themselves and what this mortal existence has in store for them? Any questions? Where do they go from after listening to this?
They go to my website, which is SamiraWyld with a y.com, and all the information is there. There's the background of who I am, what I do, how I read, how you can contact me. I also have a Facebook page, but there is a link in my website, so kind of everything's there. I've tried to keep it really simple to where people can contact me easily. If they've got any questions or concerns about booking a reading, they can email me straight away.
Fantastic. Excellent. So you're right across social media as well. We know about that. People are watching right now while we're recording this. They're also actually watching it before the recording's ever available. It's almost they're watching it before we even sat here and said what we said. It's that fast these days, Crazy.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, it's been another interesting insight. We're going to leave it there. I'm going to say thank you very much to you, Samira, and hopefully other people have found this a little bit different, shall we say, and they're intrigued enough to get in touch with you to find out more and possibly learn more about themselves as well. We all need
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Totally.
I would suggest that's a key one as well, because despite how many times we look in that mirror, just how many people actually know themselves?
Yes, very true, Martin. Very true.
Samira, thanks very much for joining us. This has been ShineTalk. That has been Samira Wyld. Don't forget her website. That is SamiraWyld.com. And, of course, I have been Martin Shine.